cross-cultural missions. Did Jesus know, met, or reached out to cross-cultural and international citizens? Definitely yes. So let's look at some of those moments.
Culture is a very broad term, especially in our global world today. Our issue is not so much Jewish or nationality based, but it's more about our Adventist culture. Sometimes, as concerned parents or church members, we try to protect our children, youth, or fellow church members, and we're trying to do that by limiting their exposure to other philosophies or cultures. How was with Jesus?
The lesson starts with an example of a woman, a foreigner from Samaria. Any contemporary of Jesus would have skipped this encounter from their biography because only shame and critical exposure would have followed the comments in their tweets. But it's interesting because John, the gospel writer, found it very important to actually describe and present Jesus clearly as being the savior of all.
The author gives some interesting data about the circumstances of Jesus growing up. He had to move a lot as a kid. Went to Egypt and then Galilee, called Galilee of the Gentiles. Jesus must have been in contact with non-Jewish his whole early life. Also, after his rejection in Nazareth, Jesus centered his ministry in the cosmopolitan Galilean city of Capernaum. Some today would say that he was changed by the world. But the lesson says that Jesus distinguished between human-made traditions and the commands and precepts of God.
There is another moment in Jesus' life. A Roman centurion is sensitive about the Jewish customs and restrictions. He's in a big distress because one of his servants is suffering terribly. "Don't come under my roof," he says to Jesus. "Just speak out the word and healing will be done." Jesus pauses and thinks, probably, what do I do with this Roman citizen, a Gentile, or not? Because he turns to his disciples and plainly lets them know that many will come from the east and from the west, and they will take their places at the feast of Abraham.
Ouch.
Hard to swallow.
I love this from the Quarterly. Whatever else one can take from the account of this healing, we can see that vast cultural divides were not able to keep the Jews and this Roman apart.
On his map, Jesus had marked also some places that we would never expect him to go. He deliberately withdrew to places like foreign land, like the area of Tyre and Sidon, the region of the Gadarenes. Was it by chance? Hard to say it was by chance that Jesus went there. In places like that, Jesus met with people in pain, with struggle, even demon-possessed men and women and children suffering terribly. But they had faith.
There were unclean pigs there. Great question from the lesson. How far of your own comfort zone are you willing to go in order to minister to others? How far should you go?
On another occasion, Jesus met 10 lepers. Jesus healed the 10 of them, but only one came back to express his appreciation. It was a Samaritan. Jesus surprisingly asked about the other 9. Where are they? Silence, as you can imagine. To the foreigner, he said that faith has no boundaries, like culture or ethnicity. The Samaritan had what it takes to be a follower of Christ. For the Jews, to be a Jew was nothing more than what God meant to establish a central base of mission in Judea and Galilee. But they thought of themselves as greater than the other nations.
Maybe because we see ourselves as more entitled or in better relationship with the big man, our manners sometimes are not the best. And our spirit maybe it's not at best. Near the end of his mission, some Greeks came to see Jesus. He was encouraged by their desire to see him, seeing a sign of the beginning of what was to come.
Now, what can we learn from this lesson? Jesus never turned his back on anyone who came to him with faith. Moreover, he had places marked on his map to visit so he can encounter with those people. And all was possible, although his mission was to establish a central mission base in Judea and Galilee.
Jesus said that one should lose his life in order to gain it, as the grain has to die to produce fruit. It's not about our understandings and about our protection, but about following Jesus and becoming one with his mission.
So let's keep an open mind. God leads, we follow. See you next time.